Namaste. Welcome to Musings by Masha, and this video came about during my most recent Friday live when Robin from Toadstool Tarot channel asked me whether I had any Russian themed tarot decks in my possession. I do have 3. And then Justin, who also has a YouTube channel under his name Justin Michael, asked me whether I had a walkthrough on my channel of my only tarot deck in Russian language. I then remembered that a while back I had rather a few requests of you, my friends, who have seen me mentioning this particular deck, asking me to do a walkthrough and show all of the cards of this beautiful deck, the name of which of course you see in the description of the video below. So today we will be having a look at Russian Taро Lubok. As you can see, it's in Cyrillic or Cyrillic if you choose to, Русское Таро Лубок, and this beautiful deck was created by Sergei Savchenko, who is a tarologist and who is also a co-founder of Russian School of Tarot, the mention of which you can see in here in Russian language, of course, Русская Школа Таро. And this deck was also illustrated by Evgeny Vinitsky. And the name may not ring a bell to you, but in the Western world, he is known. He has created a few tarot decks now. He is based in Switzerland and also known by Eugene Vinitsky. It's more, I guess, the English pronunciation of his Russian name, Evgeny Vinitsky. So if you have heard, and I know a few of my friends you love and you have those decks, the decks such as Golden Venetian Lenormand and Venetian Tarot, so that's the same illustrator. Evgeny Vinitsky or Eugene Vinitsky started his career in cinematography, but also he is a very experienced and rather renowned illustrator and artist who had his exhibitions around the world and has his artworks in various collections around the world. A very talented man, a professional who I trust also loves tarot and who illustrated this amazing deck. So now to my copy. I got my copy a while back in somewhere mid-May, I think May-June 2016. So mine came only in the tag box, and now you can get a more luxurious or deluxe version, I guess, in a 2-part box, which the design of which will resemble the Radiant White Spirit Tarot by Los Carabia or Tarot Mucha. Almost recent, of course. It's a completely different deck, but that's the new style of the box of Russian Taroe Lubok you can get. 2-part box, nice and sturdy, with the top lid lifting and the card standing inside. This is just big tarot, it just lives on my coffee table, so I could grab it here. But yeah, so that's the style of the box you get now if you choose to opt for the deluxe, I guess, deluxe edition of this beautiful deck. Now let's have a look at the size of the cards. So if you open the deck, you get your cards out, and there are 2 extra cards. There may be 4 extra cards, including the artist cards, introduction cards, and then 2 extra ones on top of 78 tarot cards that come in the new edition. I think mine only came with 80 cards altogether, but they are the backs, beautiful backs, and the card stock is really lovely. It's not very matte, or it's kind of more on the matte side, with a little bit of a shine. It's not glossy though at all. And if you ask me what kind of cardstock is that, I would say it's very similar to Los Carabia cardstock. I couldn't find where exactly those cards were printed, but the cardstock feels for me very Los Carabia cardstock, which is really good for riffle shuffle, and they're kind of medium thickness. They're quite pliable cards, which I really love these days. If you look at the size, and you know, for my size comparison, I always use Tarot AE weight by AGM, more like a standard tarot size with crackled backs. So if you compare the size of the cards, let me bring the Lubok Tarot on top. The size of those cards is pretty much identical. Yeah, it is, if I line them up correctly, identical in width and height. The only thing that Russian Taroe Lubok the corners of the cards are a little bit small. The angles of the corners are a little bit small, so they're a little bit sharper, and the corners of the AE weight are a little rounded, but the corners are rounded. So if I have to kind of guess, that's probably medium corner rounder. If you have that one from Amazon that has small, medium, and large setting, and this one will be a smaller corner rounder. So they are the beautiful, beautiful cards. And my standard edition came with the little white book, all in Russian, which I really enjoyed actually reading through. And the book only has 19 pages with the text, with a couple of pages, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 blank pages at the back. But I just wanted to, well, of course it's in Russian, but just to read a little bit from the introduction to explain the name of the deck. It's called Russian Taро Lubok, what Lubok is. So Lubok was a inexpensive publications which appeared in Russia in the second half of the 18th century. And but Lubok also is referred to a particular style with some kind of strict rules of application. So Lubok's style of illustration involved the drawings or illustrations with some narratives or some writings to accompany them. So pretty much the way I see it, the style of Lubok is the predecessor to comic books that are very popular in our modern days. But another thing that attracted me to these cards, that even if you have a look at the back, not only the folky feel, of course it's my origin, right, that's very attractive to me, but also the woodblocky style of those cards. And the reason for that, of course, because in the beginning of when the Lubok style only appeared in Europe, or I think it's actually probably even started in China with the different name, that it did involve wood blocks. And if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know I'm such a enthusiast of Tarot de Marseille, and I love the woodblocky art style. So that's another point of attraction I had for this particular deck, which I adore. But now what we're going to do now, we're going to turn the camera over and we're going to have a look at those cards together. For the major arcana, I will talk a little bit more, and I will talk about the keywords I hear, and I actually don't mind them. I think they fit in with the style really nicely, because we have that Lubok style illustration, right? And we have how it was originally done, some description or some narrative or keywords here as well in the font that I really appreciate. So yeah, let's not wait any longer and let's look at these beautiful, beautiful, wonderful, fun cards. Once again, they're the beautiful backings. There's the sun and the moon, and they're just absolutely beautiful and reversible if you read reversals. And here we have a look at our first card, number 0, which is the Fool. Russian Taро Lubok does stay with the Rider-Waite-Smith numbering. So here we see Skamarokh, what you call in Russian Skamarokh, who is a wandering fool, and he is riding on a swine. A swine is of course considered a very smart and trainable animal. We see the luscious blossoming background there, and of course the keywords here: a child, a silly one, a naive one. I love the magician here because it reminds me more of a Marseille Tarot style magician, more of a street magician, yet he's got all the elements here represented on his table. And of course, staying with the Russian folklore, he's got a female goat helping him, being of assistance, which I really love. Also, he's wearing lapti, what we call lapti, the bast shoes, which is quite lovely as well. This is our Papess or High Priestess card, and here we see a blue bird, and this bird is a blend of magical mythic birds of Russian folklore, Russian folk stories, and she herself is an oracle. Intuition, mysterious secrets are the keywords here. a beautiful Empress card. So she is the symbol of vitality and fertility, and also the element here of the Russian folklore, which is also of course represented in other cultures, that she is holding that drinking horn of plenty filled with flowers. Here in Russia we call it rog изобилия, the horn of plenty, signifying that fertility and vitality. Again here motherhood and reproduction are the key words for this card. The Emperor, father, responsibility and power, the keywords depicted mentioned here. And we can see this particular emperor, he is positioned above his empire, right? And it's almost he rules over his kingdom from the above, and also he is positioned almost as high as the angel in the sky. So he is rising above the mundane, which I kind of like that layering as well. Absolutely love this Lubok style artwork. And then we have Hierophant. So he is a teacher, he is a patriarch, and here we see two figures. We see more military officer person, and we see a beggar. Lover's card is rather lovely. Close relationships, lightheartedness, pleasure are the keywords here, but also this card does suggest an element of choice. That's how I read the Lover's card, because if you can see this lover man, the male person here, he's an officer, so he could be called to duty anytime. So that there is that always, or also always the choice to stay with your beloved, to go to duty. So yeah, that's the Lover's card. And we have a very interesting depiction of the Chariot. And while of course this character can remind you a centaur, in Russian mythology not quite. He is Kitavras, that's the name, and so he, yeah, like a centaur, he is half human and half horse. But also in Slavic legends, there are the legends of him and the King Solomon, so Kitavras and Solomon. Also, as we can see, he is wearing a turban, more like a Turkish turban and more like a Turkish sword, or not very Russian traditional looking sword. He's got this messenger bag of treasures as well with him, or crossbody bag of treasures. A luscious tree growing behind. The keywords here, the trip, income, and victory, I guess suggesting that fast movement towards the goal. And then we're moving on to the Strength card. Inner strength is one of the keywords here. And it looked like she has tamed the seven-headed beast, the little lion here. He becomes like a little kitty pet. But also what we can see here, what I really absolutely adore, and of course I'm of Russian origin, yet I do love my Tarot de Marseille, yet I have my aesthetics and tarot and preferences in tarot. But this particular artwork, it just, yeah, as you can see, it almost feels very old and woodblocky, right? And also I do appreciate the keywords here, because while many of us, we do not like keywords, but a little bit of writing, it seems to me, it just stays in line with the style of original Lubok, when we have a beautiful illustration, powerful illustration, and then we have some smaller descriptive narrative above or below it, which I find quite unique, and I personally really love it. We have a beautiful hermit with the keywords of wisdom, old, mature, age, teacher, the wheel of fortune. I love this wheel of fortune. It just brings a smile to my face looking at this Wheel of Fortune. Колесо Fortune, that's the Russian name for it. The key word is that too shall pass. And also when we look, while it may not look like a traditional Wheel of Fortune, we can see the 4 creatures with 2 wings each on the corners. They're still present. And then we have the Justice. So the numbering, as I mentioned, it does follow RWS numbering. And the Justice is blindfolded. It's a blindfolded angel, of course. And that blindfold, I guess, symbolizes non-bias. But also our Justice here has the scales, but also she or they have 2 swords, right? So one more of an executioner sword there, and the other one sword to punish, and the other one is the sword to pardon. The Hangman. That's again the link to my Tarot de Marseille. I do love the Hangman having coins falling out, so it may not signify as much as enlightenment, but also he can be read as the deceiving person, the thief as well, right? So that's why he is hanged. But yeah, so we have also a bird here sitting and waiting, may signifying a delay as well, having the world upside down. The keywords here are victim, material losses, and letting go of the past, which I quite like. I love the Death card here. Transformation are the keywords. One of the keywords here. And here we see the Death himself. The character is more like a dressed human, dressed in a death suit, right? And we see the scene of the battlefield here. We see the hourglass on the basket, maybe signifying that the time is ticking. But also with the battlefield, we see the spears in the basket of the death figure. The colors are quite beautiful here as well. I absolutely adore the Temperance card. The keywords here saying that it's a slower time, autumn. I love her. So she is the maiden, and she's having that carrying pole with 2 buckets of water. And in Russian, this carrying pole is called karamysla. With the Devil card, we are descending into hell, as we can see. So we can see the numerals, of course, here at the bottom in every of the major Arcana cards. Our Devil is purple. And we can see those 2 puppets figures that he is holding. The ropes around their necks are very, very loose, and they don't have any eyes, any facial features. Here we see the flames of the hell. The Tower cards. Catastrophe, destruction. A couple of keywords here for you. I have people falling, figures falling, 2 standing and looking at what's happening. One of them is running away. And this tower may also have that reference to the fire of the bell tower in Moscow, the tower of the Ivan the Great, I want to trust, in Moscow. That's a unique, I guess, description of the Star card, because we don't see a naked maiden here, but this card more shows us the keywords here, the soul, the hope, the illusion, right? And what we see here, that lady maiden, she is rather naive, expresses hope and looking for opportunities with this carriage, and then the next coming after this one, so it's kind of hope for the future, I guess. but I do love these cards for, I mean, I know they're very heavily RWS based, but in terms of the facial expressions and in terms of directionalities, I think these cards, they tell such a beautiful story. And for me, if I look at talkative decks, this one probably is one of the most talkative decks that I have in my tarot collection. I love the moon card here. So we have fogginess or confusion, I guess, psyche, magic. And also we don't have a full moon or new moon depicted here, but rather we do have the sun eclipse in our moon card here. For the sun, we have the Atlas, or in Russia we call him the Titan named Atlant. And while I am aware that the Atlas comes from the Greek origin, Greek mythology, he is also featured in Russian folk stories. And as we can see, he is holding the sun over his shoulders, and that sun is in the shape of a coin, huge coin. If we turn to the back, so that's the same sun that is depicted at the back of our beautiful Tarot Lubok here. Gold, light, health are the keywords outlined. And then we have the Judgment, which is, here it says Strashny Sud, which just means the Judgment Day in Russian, from Russian translation. It's very recognizable, I guess, a recognizable depiction of the Judgment or the Judgment Day in Slavic tales. And then the last card of the major arcana is the World card, and that I love as well, because as you know, I do appreciate very old decks, and this World card reminds me of Rosenwald Tarot and Budapest Tarot, when we have the angel flying over the world. In this case, I trust that would be Jerusalem. And also Jerusalem is recognized as a spiritual capital of Christianity, so I think that's why we can, even in a Russian themed deck, the Jerusalem is featured. Absolutely love this card. But the keywords here are saying that wishes come true, the absolute harmony, and heaven, or heaven on earth. You can translate this word in a couple of different ways. So they are the major arcana. So let's have a look now at the minors, and I will go through them a little bit quicker. If you want me to talk more about them, I'm happy to make part 2 of this video to talk more about the minors. So the suit of wands, here we have the ace, 2 of wands, I love the owl, Three of wands. So as you can see, the minors are very RWS based, yet with that extra addition of the Russian folklore, woodblocky style of Lubok. Love it. Another thing to mention is that we have the suit depicted on one side, but 5 of wands, but we don't see 6 of wands as wands depicted, but I guess the meaning is very much there. So again, depending on your preference, whether you can have cards like that or not. In this particular case, I really love it, because for me, these cards, they add that extra dimension of that folklore and that extra faces and expressions that I can read. 8 of wands. I love the pages. I just love their bust shoes, and this deck is everything. Just look at the queen. her. And now we are moving to the suit of cups, the Ace of Cups here. Such a typical description in the Russian folklore. These cards remind me of fairy tales, of those old Russian illustrations and stories I grew up with. But having said that, it's just, as you can see, people are people, and you don't need to be of Russian or Slavic origin to really appreciate those cards. My husband really found them quite humorous as well. Look at Seven of Cups, illusion, deceive. They also put alcohol and drugs and disturbed mind here, but even with the serious meanings, it's just so much fun to look at this guy. We have Russian samovar depicted here. We do love our tea in Russia, although I wish we did still use the samovars more frequently. We call it pechka in Russian, but this is the page of cups. Knight. Queen of Cups and the King. Ace of Swords. So moving on to the suit of swords. Three of Swords. I do very much appreciate that this Three of Swords don't pierce the heart there. But as you can see, we see the symbol of the suit, right? But we don't have the three particular, like we can't really count Three of Swords depicted here. I'm actually quite curious to hear of what you think of that feature. I mean, the meanings are fairly clear and they're so descriptive and illustrated so well enough. But I'm just curious whether you think that the depiction of the number of swords or cups or pentacles is necessary, or you think it's quite acceptable and good to have the deck the way it is. Seven of Swords. It's all in there, isn't it? Yeah, so let me know if you want me to talk in more detail and make part 2 of Russian Tarot Lubok, where we can just explore a little bit more of the characters and choices behind the minor arcana cards. Nine of Swords. I love this Nine of Swords very much. And I guess talking about nightmare, for me to be stuck in the snow and in the cold, that probably would be one of the. Ten of Swords. The Page. My mind is very often like that, like mind of the Page of Swords. The Knight. The Queen. And now to the last suit. We have the Pentacles. Ace of Pentacles. Two Two of Pentacles. So once again, the symbol of the suit is always in the right hand corner of the card. Four of Pentacles. Five of Pentacles. Once again, very true to RWS imagery, yet depicted in the very Russian context, or Russian context of the kind of 18th century. So again, we don't have 5 coins depicted here as such, but we have 5, and we have reference that it's a suit of coins or pentacles. Cards of the suit of pentacles, the page of pentacles, the knight, queen of pentacles, and the king of pentacles. Also with this deck, when it comes to the reading with the cards, we get 2 extra cards, and one of them is just blank cards, which called Белая карта, which simply means the white card, and we also get a significator card. So we have Cavalier, or the gentleman here, and we have Dama, or the lady. So you can just choose if you decide to use this card as an extra significator on top of your 78 tarot cards. And they are the cards of the Russian Taро Lubok. I also wanted to mention that if you really love this deck and planning to get it or have it already and looking at working with it in depth, I would highly recommend the electronic guidebook that is available in English now as well, of Russian Taро Lubok. It is rather pricey, but I think it's worthwhile if you're looking at reading a little bit more about these cards, which I really enjoyed. I have mine in Russian, so I did reference it partially with a bit of my translation from Russian into English. But if you speak Russian, you will be getting this white book, as I showed in the beginning of the video. It's only 19 pages, and you will have a couple of pages, 3-4 pages on the introduction of Lubok, what is Lubok, and then you have a page on Происхождение of Tarot, which is the origins of Tarot. But if you look at the major Arcana cards, you only have a tiny little paragraph with keywords. At the back, you are also introduced to a 9-card spread, which I actually really enjoyed doing. So that's that. The other 2 decks that I have that are Russian themed, they're the decks in English, and both of them are by US Games. One of them is Russian Tarot of St. Petersburg, and this one is the first deck I have ever purchased, illustrated by Yuri Shakov. Beautiful golden embossing here in the front of the box. And I didn't talk much about this deck because I thought it was going out of print, but it's back in its availability on Book Depository on Amazon. So if you would like me to see a walkthrough, if you'd like me to do a walkthrough of this beautiful deck that I absolutely adore, please let me know in the comments below. And of course, the other one is the Tarot of the Golden Wheel by Mila Lasenka, a very popular and well-loved deck in our community, watercolor, absolutely beautiful, featuring Slavonic and Russian motifs. So yeah, and let me know in the comments below if you would like to see more of those cards. And I hope so much that you enjoyed this video and had fun looking. I think this deck is just so fun and quirky and humorous and honest. I just absolutely adore it, and I hope you did enjoy looking at those cards as well. Thank you so very much for stopping by and for watching. I will see you in the next one. I'm sending you so much love and light. Namaste.